I was standing at the door, holding my bag, and my own son was yelling at me to leave. But what hurt the most wasn't him. It was my grandson, standing right there, watching everything. He looked straight at me and said nothing. And in that moment, I realized something I wish I never knew. Rain was coming down hard over Akron that night. Cold March rain that soaked through my coat and ran down the back of my neck. I had one duffel bag in my hand, the same canvas bag I used to take fishing with my grandson Tyler when he was little. My son Mark stood in the doorway with his jaw tight and his face red. "You can't stay here anymore, Dad," he said. "Not after what you did." I looked past him into the warm light of the house. My late wife's quilt was folded over the couch. My old recliner was gone. The family pictures had been moved from the hallway. It felt like I had walked into a house where I had already died. Tyler was 18 then, tall and quiet, wearing the Ohio State sweatshirt I bought him for Christmas. His eyes met mine for half a second, then dropped to the floor. I said, "Tyler, you know I didn't do what they're saying." He swallowed hard. Mark turned around and snapped, "Don't drag him into this." But he was already in it. He had heard the whispers. He had watched his mother, Lisa, go through my mail. He had seen Mark pressure me at the kitchen table about signing papers for the house. He knew something was wrong. Still, he said nothing. That silence broke something in me worse than Mark's yelling ever could. For 6 months, they had made me feel like a burden. First, it was small things. My pills moved from the cabinet, my checkbook missing from the drawer. Mark telling neighbors I was confused lately. Lisa asking me, sweet as sugar, whether I remembered paying the property tax. I remembered everything. I remembered buying that house with my wife, Helen, in 1978. I remembered laying tile in the bathroom after working a double shift at the tire plant. I remembered Mark learning to ride his bike in that driveway. I remembered Tyler sleeping on my chest as a baby while Helen whispered, "That boy trusts you more than anybody." Now that same boy watched me get thrown out. Mark shoved the duffel bag against my chest. "You're going to the motel," he said. "Tomorrow, we'll talk about the papers." "What papers?" His face changed, just a flicker. Lisa appeared behind him, arms crossed, smiling like she was sad for me. "The papers your lawyer sent," she said softly. "Don't pretend you don't know." I stared at her. I had no lawyer. Then Tyler lifted his head, pale as bone, and whispered, "Grandpa, I saw Mom sign your name." I felt my stomach drop so hard it almost folded me in half. Mark spun toward Tyler so fast the boy flinched. "What the hell did you just say?" Tyler's face went white. Lisa stepped forward immediately. "Tyler, honey, you're confused." "No, I'm not," he said quietly. Rain hammered the porch roof above us. I could hear my own breathing. Slow, heavy, old. Lisa kept her smile, but her eyes changed. Cold, sharp. "Your grandfather has been upset lately," she said. "You know how things get twisted." Tyler looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time all night, and I saw fear in him, not confusion, fear. Mark grabbed the edge of the door so hard his knuckles turned pale. "Go upstairs," he told Tyler. "But Dad..." "Now." Tyler froze another second before turning away. I watched him disappear down the hallway I used to paint every summer myself. Then Mark stepped outside and shut the door behind him. The porch light buzzed above us. "You need to stop this," he said through clenched teeth. "Stop what?" "You know exactly what. I don't even know what papers you're talking about." Lisa opened the door again before he could answer. She held a folder in her hands. My folder. The blue one I kept locked in my desk downstairs. Inside it were the deed to the house, Helen's life insurance papers, my retirement account. Everything. Every important document I owned. "You've been hiding things from us," Lisa said softly. I stared at the folder like it was a dead animal. "How did you get that?" Mark ignored me. "We were trying to help you," he snapped. "But now Tyler's getting ideas in his head and you're making this ugly." I actually laughed then. Not because anything was funny, because suddenly I understood something terrifying. This had been planned. Not tonight. Not this week. For months. Maybe longer. I looked at my son standing there in the rain, and I remembered the day he was born. Tiny little thing wrapped in a hospital blanket while Helen cried tears of joy into my shoulder. I worked overtime for 20 years so that boy could go to college. And now he was looking at me like I was standing in the way of something he already considered his. "The house," I said quietly. Neither of them answered. That was answer enough. Lisa crossed her arms tighter. "You can't maintain this property anymore, Walter. The taxes alone are drowning you." "That's funny," I said, "considering the taxes are automatically withdrawn from my pension." Mark's face twitched. Tiny. Fast. But I caught it. And suddenly another memory hit me. 3 months earlier. A letter from the bank that mysteriously never arrived. Then another. And another. Lisa had started insisting on helping with my mail around Christmas. My chest tightened. "What did you do?" I whispered. Nobody answered. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me not to. I answered slowly. An older woman's voice came through. "Mr. Grayson? This is Evelyn from First National Bank." I felt Mark stiffen immediately, and then she said the words that made my blood run cold. "Sir, we've detected a second attempt tonight to transfer ownership of your property." My hand started shaking so badly I had to grip the porch railing. "What do you mean, second attempt?" I asked. Silence beside me. Heavy silence. The kind that tells you the people near you are suddenly terrified. The bank woman lowered her voice. "Mr. Grayson, earlier this evening someone submitted digital authorization forms connected to your home equity account and property deed." I stared directly at Mark. His face had gone pale. "They used your credentials, sir," she continued, "but our fraud department flagged inconsistencies in the signatures." Lisa stepped backward toward the door. Tiny movement. But guilty people always move when truth enters the room. "I didn't authorize anything," I said. "I understand, sir. We've frozen all activity temporarily, but we strongly recommend you come into the branch first thing tomorrow morning." "Yes," I whispered. "I will." Then she said something worse. "Sir, there's also a large withdrawal request pending against your retirement account." For a second, I honestly thought my knees would give out. Mark stepped forward quickly. "Dad, listen." I held up my hand. Not loud, not dramatic. But he stopped talking immediately, because for the first time all night, he saw my face, and I think it scared him. "You touched my retirement?" "Dad, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." Lisa jumped in fast. "We were trying to protect the assets before probate issues. I'm not dead." Her mouth snapped shut. Rain rolled off the roof in thick streams beside us. Somewhere down the street, thunder cracked hard enough to shake the windows. Mark rubbed both hands over his face. You don't understand how bad things got, he muttered. There it was. Not apology. Not guilt. Pressure. Debt. I looked at him carefully. The expensive watch was gone. His truck had disappeared last week, and suddenly I remembered Tyler mentioning collection calls during dinner one night. Helen used to say people leak the truth in pieces long before they confess it. You're broke, I said quietly. Mark looked away. Lisa answered for him. The business collapsed in January. I blinked. What business? Mark slammed a hand against the railing. Because I didn't want you worrying about it. His voice cracked suddenly. Raw. Desperate. We were drowning, Dad. Loans, lawsuits, payroll. Everything hit at once. And your solution was stealing my house? We weren't stealing it. You forged my damn signature. The words exploded out of me louder than I intended. Upstairs, I heard movement. Tyler. Listening. Mark's breathing got rough. We were going to fix it after the refinance cleared, he said. You would have still lived here. Lived here. Like a dog being allowed to stay in its old yard. I looked at my son and realized something horrible. He truly believed this was reasonable. Lisa stepped closer, lowering her voice. Walter, if the bank takes our home, Tyler loses everything. His college fund is already gone. That hit me hard, because Tyler didn't know. I could hear him moving upstairs again. Poor kid probably thought his whole life was stable while his parents hollowed it out behind closed doors. Then Lisa added softly, we just needed your equity temporarily. Temporarily. My dead wife's house. 40 years of work. Temporarily. I laughed again, but this time it sounded ugly even to me. Then the front curtain shifted upstairs. Tyler's standing there, watching all of it. And suddenly he shouted down from the window, tell him about Grandma's will. Everything stopped. Even the rain seemed quieter. Mark looked up sharply. Tyler, go to your room. But Tyler didn't move. His face looked broken. And then he said the sentence that made Lisa start crying instantly. You told Mom not to tell Grandpa he still owns half the land behind the house. I felt the air leave my lungs. Half the land. Mark looked like somebody had punched him straight in the throat. Tyler, he said warningly, enough. But the boy kept standing there in the upstairs window, shaking. No, he said. I'm tired of lying. Lisa buried her face in her hands. That scared me more than the yelling, because people only stop pretending when the truth is too close to survive. I stared at Mark. What land? His eyes darted toward Lisa. Nobody answered. Then slowly, painfully, pieces started fitting together in my head. 3 years earlier, a developer had started buying property around our neighborhood. Old homes, empty lots, farmland near the highway. Everybody talked about it at the diner. Prices were climbing fast. And behind my house sat nearly 7 wooded acres Helen inherited from her father in 1982. Land I never touched. Land I forgot was even valuable. Until now. You sons of bitches, I whispered. Mark stepped toward me fast. Dad, just let me explain. You tried to sell Helen's land? No! But Tyler shouted from upstairs again. You met with that real estate guy twice. Lisa started crying harder. Tyler, stop it. I heard you. Mark looked ready to explode. I pointed at him with a shaking hand. You were going to put me in assisted living and sell the property while I was alive. It wasn't like that. Then how was it? The thunder cracked so loud this time, the porch light flickered. For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then Mark finally broke. Completely. You think I wanted this? He shouted. You think I wanted to beg investors while my business collapsed? You think I wanted collectors calling the house 20 times a day? His face twisted with humiliation. They were going to sue us, Dad. We had nothing left. So you decided to bury me early? That's not fair. No, I said quietly. Fair was me working 38 years in a factory so my son never had to struggle like I did. That shut him up. Rainwater dripped off the roof between us. Cold wind blew across the porch. And suddenly, Lisa looked up with mascara running down her cheeks. He was trying to protect Tyler. I turned toward her slowly. And who was protecting me? She had no answer. None of them did. Then Tyler disappeared from the upstairs window. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps racing down the stairs inside. The front door burst open. He came outside breathing hard, carrying something in both hands. A metal cash box. My chest tightened immediately. Helen's box. I hadn't seen it in years. Tyler held it against his chest and looked at me like he was ashamed. I found this in Mom's closet, he whispered. Mark's eyes widened instantly. Tyler? No. The kid backed away from his own father. Rain soaked his sweatshirt as he shoved the box toward me. They said not to tell you. My fingers trembled taking it. The lock had already been forced open. Inside were old insurance papers, Helen's jewelry, my original deed paperwork, and one white envelope sitting on top, my name written across it in Helen's handwriting. I stopped breathing, because Helen had been dead 9 years. Slowly, carefully, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Short, only 1 page, and at the bottom, a date. 3 weeks before she died. Then I saw the first sentence, and suddenly the entire world tilted beneath me. Walter, if Mark ever asks you to sign over the property, do not trust him. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. Rain hit the porch around us while I stared at Helen's handwriting. I knew every curve of it. 39 years of birthday cards, grocery lists, little notes left beside my coffee cup before early shifts at the plant. And now her words felt like a voice from the grave. Walter, if Mark ever asks you to sign over the property, do not trust him. My knees nearly buckled. Mark stepped toward me immediately. Dad, don't. I looked up at him, and he stopped cold, because I finally understood. Not pieces, not suspicions, the whole thing. The pressure, the fake concern, the missing mail, the forged signatures, the assisted living brochures. This wasn't desperation that started recently. This had been growing for years. I looked back down at the letter. Helen wrote, I found documents in Mark's truck after dinner tonight. Property estimates, development maps, notes about the back acreage. The rain sounded deafening now. Lisa covered her mouth. Tyler stood frozen beside the door, and I kept reading. I confronted him carefully. He cried and apologized, but something felt wrong. He kept asking what would happen to the land after we died. My chest hurt so badly I pressed my hand against it. 9 years. 9 damn years. Helen knew. And she died carrying that fear alone, because she didn't want to destroy the family before she was gone. Then I reached the line that shattered me completely. If you're reading this, it means he finally asked. I closed my eyes. For 1 second, I could actually hear Helen's voice saying it. Soft, heartbroken, certain. Mark looked sick now. Dad, please listen to me. I folded the letter carefully. Too carefully. Like if I moved too fast, I might lose the last piece of my wife I had left. You knew she suspected you, I said quietly. He wiped rainwater from his face. It wasn't like that back then. Then what was it like? He looked away. That was enough. Tyler stared at his father like he didn't recognize him anymore. And maybe he didn't. Lisa suddenly stepped forward. It started after the recession, she whispered. Mark got obsessed with investment videos, property groups, flipping land. Mark snapped around instantly. Stop talking. But she was crying too hard now. He said the acreage would eventually be worth millions once the highway expansion happened. I felt numb. Millions. That was the secret. Not survival. Not fear. Greed. Everything after that was just justification. Mark pointed at Lisa furiously. You benefited too. Yes, she screamed back. Because you promised me we'd never struggle again. Tyler flinched hard at the sound of her voice. I looked at my grandson. Poor kid looked like his entire childhood was collapsing in front of him. Then suddenly headlights swung across the driveway. A black SUV pulling up fast through the rain. Mark turned pale instantly. Not nervous. Terrified. 3 men stepped out wearing dark jackets. One of them carried a folder. The tallest one walked straight toward the porch. Mark moved in front of me immediately. Dad, go inside. The man ignored him completely. You, Mark Grayson? Mark didn't answer. The man opened the folder calmly. You've been avoiding court summons for 3 weeks. Lisa started sobbing. Tyler whispered, Dad, what is this? And then the man said the words that made Mark completely unravel. Mr. Grayson, your business partners are accusing you of fraud involving forged property collateral. Mark grabbed the man's arm so fast the folder nearly fell into the rain. Not here, he hissed. The man pulled free immediately. We already tried your office, then your attorney, then your house. Tyler looked back and forth between them, panicking. Dad, what fraud? Nobody answered him. The second man stepped onto the porch, holding an envelope sealed in plastic against the rain. You falsified collateral documents tied to pending development acquisitions, he said flatly, including property not legally owned by your company. I felt cold all over. Helen's land, my house, my retirement accounts, everything. Mark turned toward me wildly. Dad, I can explain this. But he couldn't even look me in the eye anymore. Lisa suddenly backed away from him like she was seeing a stranger. You told me it was temporary, she whispered. It was supposed to be. You said investors already approved everything. They would have if Dad had just signed the transfer. That silence afterward felt endless, because he finally said it. Not hidden, not softened, not disguised as concern. The truth. Tyler stared at his father with tears running down his face. You were going to steal Grandpa's house? Mark looked at him desperately. No, listen to me. You lied to everybody. I did it for this family. No, I said quietly. Everybody looked at me, and for the first time all night, I wasn't shaking anymore. You did it for yourself. Rain poured around us. The men waited silently near the driveway. Mark looked broken now. Completely broken. Not angry anymore. Cornered. He stepped toward me slowly. Dad, please, if you help me right now, I can still fix this. There it was again. Need. Not love. Need. I looked at my son standing under that porch light and realized something awful. I didn't know him anymore. Maybe I hadn't for a very long time. Tyler suddenly moved beside me. Not beside his father. Beside me. And Mark noticed. He noticed. Something inside him cracked right then. You too? He whispered to Tyler. Tyler wiped his face hard. You made me lie to Grandpa. Lisa covered her mouth, sobbing louder. The tallest man checked his watch impatiently. Mr. Grayson, we need you to come with us tonight. Mark spun around, furious again. I said, give me a damn minute. The man didn't move. I looked down at Helen's letter still in my hand, rainwater smearing the ink at the edges. Then headlights appeared again at the end of the street. Another car. Police this time. Blue lights flashing silently through the rain. Lisa started hyperventilating. Tyler grabbed my arm. And Mark looked at me one last time like a little boy about to drown. Dad, just that word. Nothing else. Then one of the officers stepped onto the porch and said, Walter Grayson? I nodded slowly. The officer removed his hat. Sir, there's one more thing you need to know. He glanced at Mark, then at the letter in my hand, and quietly said, Your wife contacted county investigators before she died. If this story hit you hard, let me know in the comments what you would have done in his place. And if you believe family, trust, and dignity still matter, subscribe for more real emotional stories like this one.